Hi everyone, today's topic is the equation of a straight line. So last time we talked about how you can figure out the slope when you are just given 2 points without using the coordinate plane or the coordinate graph. And we've also talked in the past about how B is the starting point which touches the y-axis. So today, in today's lesson, we're going to put that all together and we're going to use the information that we have to now create an equation when you are given information for a straight line. Okay, so to review, every point xy which lies on the line AB should satisfy the equation y equals mx plus b, which again you've seen before, right? The slope is m, and then the y-intercept is b. Remember, that's the starting point, and then your slope is the rate of change. That's really all you need for a straight line, right? You need to know where that line starts, and you need to know how, fast or slow it's going to be changing. Then after that, you just have a straight line. So those are the only two pieces of information that you need. Now, when this equation is written in this format, y equals mx plus b, there's a special name. It's called the slope-intercept form. And that's because, it's using the slope, the m, and it's using the y-intercept, the b. So hence slope-intercept form. Very rarely you'll also hear it called the gradient-intercept form, but 99% of the time it's going to be called the slope-intercept form. So if you don't have this in your notebook, be sure to put that in now. The name slope-intercept form for y equals mx plus b. Okay, so let's go ahead and practice how we can utilize that slope-intercept form then. Here's example 6 from your book. It asks you to find the equation of the line L1 when you're given the slope and the information that it's passing through the origin. For B, they want you to find the equation of the line when it's passing through that particular point and has a slope of -1. For C, find the equation of the line L3 when it has a slope of 2 and it passes through that point of 2, 3. Go ahead and pause the video and try it on your own first. Okay, now remember, we have all the information we need, so we actually don't need to draw ourselves a coordinate graph because that's honestly a waste of our time. What we do need to figure out the equation is our m, our slope, and our b. Luckily for us, all three of these problems already gave us the slope. So we have y equals -4/3 x plus, have no clue what the b is right now, right? So really the b, the y-intercept, is going to be our problem for each of these problems. For A, it says that it has that slope, a negative slope. Okay, so it's going to decrease, and it passes through the origin. So actually they're telling us what the y-intercept is. The y-intercept is 0. It passes through where the y value is 0. So we can just write that. Y equals -4/3 x plus 0. And then honestly, that plus 0 doesn't do anything, so we don't even need that. So our final answer is just y equals -4/3 x, because the plus 0 don't do anything. Okay? Let's move on to B then. So for B, we're also going to follow y equals mx plus b, except now they're giving us different information, right? They're giving us the slope of -1. So instead of m times x, we can put -1 times x. And then we need to figure out the b, where it touches the y-axis. Now let's do a quick sketch because it says it passes through the point 0, 5, 6. 0, you would have to find first on your x-axis, and then you would have to move up to where 5, 6 is. Okay, so honestly, that's our B, because that's where it touches the y-axis, and this is a negative slope. So yeah, it's going downwards, and that's where it touches our y-axis. So my b is negative 5, 6. So this answer, simplified, would be negative x, because we don't need that negative 1, minus, because plus 5, 6 is the same as subtracting 5, 6, 5, 6. So this is our final answer for the equation. Okay, so whenever they give you a point that's 0, whatever, they're really telling you the y value, the b value. Okay, and when it's touching 0, hello, that's exactly the b value, because that means it lies right on that axis, because that's where the x equals to 0. All right, let's move on to C. C is going to be a little different. Same thing, we're going to use y equals mx plus b. We do have our slope, which is 2, so that's information we can plug in already, but again, we don't have our b. But we do know it passes through the point 2, 3. Now, if we were to sketch 2, 3, 2, 3, that's right there. So it doesn't really tell us anything about the b, right? Before, it was literally on the y-axis, so hello, that was the actual b value. But here it's hovering there, so we're not any closer to finding our b when we sketch it. So we're going to have to be a little more creative with this information, okay? What we do know here, I'm going to use a different color so that you can see. What we do know here is that we know an x value and a y value. So what we can do is we can use what information we have and plug that in. We have this right now, right? Because b is missing. We plugged in the 2 for our m, our slope. But now we have new information here. We know that when x is equal to 2, y is equal to 3. So guess what? We're going to plug that in. When x is equal to 2, 2 times 2, y is equal to 3. Look at that. Now we have an equation with just one variable. So we can solve for b. 2 times 2 is 4 plus b. Subtract 4 both sides. 3 minus 4 is negative 1. So b equals negative 1. Okay? So that's what I meant by we had to be a little bit more creative. So then our final equation is y equals 2x plus negative 1 is minus 1. Boom, there we go. Not that bad, right? Just substituting those values in for x and y and solving for b. And just like that, you can find the equation of a line. Now go ahead and try example 7. Here you need to find the equation of the straight line. However, they're not giving you the slope. They're giving you 2 points, but not the slope. But you know how to find the slope. We've talked about this before. You can use the slope formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So go ahead and pause the video and try it on your own first. Okay, let's try A. Again, we need it in y equals mx plus b form. We need our slope and we need our y-intercept. Let's try and find our slope first. So we have, let's name this x2 and y2, x1 and y1. So then we'll find our slope. So slope equals 2 minus negative 4 over x2 is 3 minus negative 5. So it ends up being 2 plus 4, 3 plus 5. So 6 over 8, which is the same as 3/4. So that's our slope. Y equals 3/4, which is our slope, x plus b. We still need our b. We're not any closer to it by looking at our points because none of them have x equals 0 there, so we can't just plug that in for our b value. So I'm going to utilize one of my points. I have 2 to choose from in order to, solve for b. I'm going to choose this one though because it has positive numbers. Okay, so instead of y, I'm going to put in 2. times 3/4 times x. X is 3. Put that 3 on top, plus b. Okay, so I plugged in x equals 3 and y equals 2. From my first point. I could have used my second point as well, but I don't want to deal with those negatives. All right, so 2 equals 3 times 3 is 9/4 plus b. Ew, I don't like 9/4. Let me change that into a decimal because it's going to be a pretty decimal anyways. 9 divided by 4 is 2.25. Okay, so this is really 2.25. So I'm going to subtract 2.25 on both sides. And then b would equal to 2 minus 2.25, which is negative 0.25, or negative 1/4. Okay, so that's my b. So then if I were to rewrite my equation, it would be y equals 3/4 x minus my b, 1/4. Boom. And it's okay that I have fractions. It's totally fine. I just want the equation. That's my answer. Let's try b now. Same thing, I need to figure out my slope first. Okay, so let me make this into x1 and y1, x2 and y2. So y2, negative 1, minus my y1, 5, over my x2, negative 3, minus my x1, which is a negative 3. So this becomes a plus. So then negative 1 minus 5 is negative 6. Negative 3 plus 3 is a 0. Ooh, anything divided by a 0 is undefined. Can't do that. So this slope is undefined. So that means rise over run. That means my run. There's no run. What type of line has no run? A straight line going up and down, right? There's no run. So if it's a straight line going up and down, that means that my x value had to be the, I should have known. I did all that work for nothing. Look at that. My x values were the same the whole time. So instead of doing all that work and realizing it afterwards, I should have checked that my two x values actually equaled negative 3, and like that was my equation already. I just didn't even have to do all that work. X equals negative 3. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. So it's just this line going up and down. Boo, did all that work for nothing. Well, you can learn from my mistake that if you were to do all this, you would end up with an undefined slope, which would then lead you to know that it's a line that goes up and down that has no run. Or next time you see a problem like this, you'd see, hey, those x's are the same. This equation is just x equals that number. Okay? And if their y's were the same, you would just say y equals whatever that same number is. Okay, that kind of makes me mad, but hopefully you learned from that. All right, let's look at example 8. The equation of a straight line L is 4x plus 5y minus 7 equals 0. And then they want you to express the equation in slope-intercept form. So they want you to rewrite it as y equals mx plus b. So basically get y by itself. And then using that, figure out the slope and y-intercept of L. So go ahead and pause the video and try it on your own first. Okay, so here's my equation, 4x plus 5y minus 7 equals 0. I need to get y by itself to get into y equals mx plus b form. So I'm going to start moving stuff that I don't need to the other side. Okay, so opposite operation, get rid of those. So 5y equals negative 4x plus 7. Okay, and then y is still not by itself. I need to divide by 5. That means everybody's got to divide by 5, or else it's going to be lopsided, right? Only one term dividing by 5. So then y equals negative 4/5 x plus 7 over 5, which is what, like 1 2/5? Okay, so then if they want to know now using that equation in slope-intercept form what the slope and y-intercept is, then we can say that the slope is equal to negative 4/5 and the y-intercept, the b, is equal to 1 2/5. So that someone knows if they were to draw this line, they would start at 1 2/5 on the y-axis, and then they would go down 4/5 to draw the rest of the line.